And so without further ado, one of my favorites in Calgary as far as the poets go, I love poetry.
Hello, thank you. That was great. Thanks, Sherry. Thank you for the introduction, and I'll just get right into it. And I hope you enjoy my poems. This first poem, I always like to start with this one. It's called If I. Can everyone hear me okay? That's key. Okay. I am not a poet. I'm not very good with words. I get confused really easily, and it makes people think I'm always unsure. I want to speak my truth and gain the flow that I lack. I stumble and stutter over my lips, and I can hear my voice crack in 1,000 places. I am not a poet, but I would love to be, to see the world as it is, but also how we want it to be. If I were a poet, I would write things that would break into your hearts and take hold of your tongues. I would spin sentences that wrap around your own experiences and make a room full of strangers feel like one. A poet has a certain ability, scribing rhythm into words, embedded letters into a medium, unleashing their urge to be heard. I am not a William, nor am I a Maya, shaping ages of literature or revolution, bringing forth change and catharsis, bringing people some kind of written absolution. I am not worthy to dip my toe into this golden art that coats our history, inspiring minds to dig deeper without leaving meaning lost in mystery. The dark ages where writing was lost reminds me of where we are now. People are screaming instead of perceiving, intolerance that needs to be untaught, but no one is listening when ideas have been sewn into them for so long that they don't know how to cut the thread. If I were a poet, I'd speak of love, of infatuation, spilling out the recipe of sweetheart's potion, flooding the gates of your mind with pungent emotion. I would be a poet that checks her spelling, leaving no place for misunderstanding because people will interpret what they want. But not from me. I'd want my poems to be a conversation, less complex words and more communication. I would be a poet that's too shy to speak, to give an awkward stance after each performance because she actually has social anxiety. But if I were a poet, I would be yours. I would be unapologetically me, share with you my joys and my woes. You would sway with my feelings and freeze at my fears. I wouldn't cry in front of you, but I'd let you hear my tears. Wow. If I were a poet, I don't even think I would know it. And that's the first one. Yay. Thank you. This next one is called Intergenerational Trauma. I see my grandmother. I see my mother. I see me. The pain they felt, the pain they feel. When will it heal? When will they be able to feel that peace through me? And that's it. And that's in short. This next one is actually from the YYC, the Pop YYC Pop. I wanted to read it for y'all today because I just love it so much. And it was such a great book. If you haven't read it, I suggest it. It's great, you know? It's called Temperamental Calgary because of the weather. It's great. It was a sunny day in Calgary until it wasn't. Seeking shelter from the cold, hearts turn to rain, rain turns to snow and ice almost frozen to the bone. Stumbling upon a blue colored door, you were still a stranger in this place that felt strangely like home. Peeking through your mind's door, tiptoeing inside that feeling of being there before. You have pictures on the wall hung like they spoke to each other and organized perfectly in disorganized lines. Each portrait was a landscape. Each landscape is a person that you've been on a journey with. You ask for nothing less, nothing more than a person's whole self. There is not judgment in your voice, only love at its core. Your kitchen smells like freshly steamed rice, your favorite food, no doubt. Your dishes are piled up, not nothing, but not too much. The studio where people can hear your music play, lyrics of your past, the beats of your tomorrow, and melodies linking them together in the most beautiful way. Up the stairs to your second layer, the balcony just touching the sky, and the bedroom filled with the aura of you, but no more than any other room. But this one is different because the door is always closed in this room that is always closed, in the room where you choose to only know a certain person, bringing peace in the bridge that brought you together, that brought you here, in this windy city where you stayed, in Calgary's temperamental weather. And that's all. Thank you. And this next one is also a short one. Racism equals frustration. It equals I have no control. It equals the sum of my efforts are seen by a divided mind as I am observed from the outside. It means racism plus my skin equals I am not able to hide. This next one is called Origami. I actually wrote it after my coworker told me that she folded 1,000 paper cranes, and that blew my mind. It's like, I know that's a thing, and it blew my mind. I am but a piece of paper, plain to see, but full of potential and expectations. I transform as the world folds my corners and flattens my edges until I am the perfect origami crane hung up for decoration. This next one, thank you. This next one's also short. It's just called Don't Judge Me. Don't judge me by what I'm supposed to be. Know me by the character I display and the heart I use to love each day. This next one is called Waiting for Summer because it's my favorite season. It's the best season. Waiting for summer is the hardest thing. Remembering the warmth on your skin, the sun on your face, happiness taking you into her embrace, that vitamin D, building up that serotonin to a dangerous high, looking up to the sky, feeling like you don't know what it's like to have ever cried. Soak in the blue, radiate in the hues of you who has never known pain, but the longer the wait for summer, the winters seem longer, the cold sets in, the aching lingers, and I start to feel the numbness in my fingers. The cold took my smile and I fell through the ice. My blood ran cold, enticing me with the memories of old when I could dance in the rain like a fool. Now I can only feel myself spiraling into an Arctic whirlpool. My mind is wearing thin and the frostbite settles in. My joie de vivre took a break. I froze and sank into my bed where I can dream my dreams and forget reality instead. Because in my dreams, I see me happy, surrounded by friends and family. And so I open my eyes once again, a new beginning, a new day. I still get to try and start again after experiencing an end. So I'm thankful for the winter because I can look forward to the spring. I get to remember that the winter doesn't last. And in summer, I'll be me again. you. This next one is also a little short one. It's called Protest. My heart is heavy. I've been protesting my whole life, but my fists will not fall, even though my arms are tired. Yeah, yeah. This next one I wrote. It's like a feminist poem just about the life that women are expected to lead. It's called Guilty Existence. Feel my tears when I cry. Let them soak into your skin. Listen to my pain. Here in a world where we are taken from with nothing to gain, seen as the vessel and not as the ones who also have blood running through their vessels. We are the ones bleeding in these beds that hold us hostage, where the sheets are stained with the guilt we're supposed to be feeling. Soaked in the unconditional love we have to be giving, left wrinkled by the life and livelihoods we should be providing before thinking of our own. Thank you. And thank you. And this next one is called Memories. Memories are like color. A fresh coat so vibrant we couldn't forget. As the days go by, the winds of change blow, the heavy rains of life wash over us as we try to remember those moments. Looking back at those colors that we will never be the same. But memories fade, but they never really go away. This next one is called Faces. I have so many faces, each one born from a new moment, moments where I discovered myself. I added a new part of me to the shelf, and sometimes I slip up. I show the wrong face at the wrong time. I lowered my guard only to be judged. I have so many faces, none of them holding a grudge. They all long for the same thing, just wanting to be loved. Yeah. This next short one is called Attention. I've never cared for the expression crying for attention, craving to be heard, afraid of not being seen. I think everyone has cried for attention. Some have just been doing it without the tears. And that's that. And then this very last one. Wow, it feels like 12 minutes goes by so quickly.
Yes, it does. And thank you for the beautiful reading. And I'm so glad that you were the person to kick off this reading series. And it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. So the last one is called Blinds. I actually wrote this like 2 days ago, which is great. And okay. I've been sitting in the dark for so long. I find it comforting. I find it warm. In a place where I can't be seen, a place where I can't be hurt, where only I can hear my sorrowful songs. However, I still find myself growing at an angle like a plant whose leaves desperately search for the source of growth, the promise of future, the hope of tomorrow. I open the blinds today. And just like my tiny plant sprouting in the darkness, I found myself leaning towards the light. And it's done. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tola, and a lot of poetry, a lot of great poetry. Thank you. And, I forgot to mention at the beginning, as we are a new series, some things will crop up that I didn't think about before, and that is that we are taping this reading. And so please turn off your screen if you don't want to be in the tape. And if you so far, we only taped the poet. So just let us know if you don't want to be part of the tape. And the tape will be seen on the Calgary Spoken Word Society YouTube site. And so in another week or so, you can go on there and you can check out these poets again, and the poets will be able to share their work more prolifically than even today. So that's an exciting component of all of this. And next we have Johnny D Trinh. And Johnny comes to us. He resides in Vancouver at this time. He is an interdisciplinary and spoken word artist. Johnny explores the use of spoken word music, video, social media, movement theater, and creative technology. Johnny's practices integrate the multi-layered realities within which we exist that create the immersive spoken word experience. Johnny's pedagogy, that's a very academic word, Johnny. Your pedagogy, I have to love that. Johnny's pedagogy is rooted in the constant goal of fostering a sense of empowerment, agency, and compassion through socially engaged, community-based art. And he does so much for so many. And he has created a new society himself recently. And he's got this great thing called Page to the Stage that you may want to check out, because it's a new way of, through social media and through the internet, of artists exchanging editing and reading and their ideas on each other's work. It's a really, really great concept and really lovely ideas. Johnny Trinh is a very positive, light-filled energy, ball of fire who also teaches yoga, and he lives by the light. And so here we have Johnny Trinh.
Thank you so much. Is my audio okay? Everyone hear me right? Great. It's such an honor to be part of this first reading. My poet name, Johnny D Trinh, is named after Sherry D. Wilson. Sherry D has been a mother and a mentor and dear teacher for so long. So it's an honor to be part of this community and this legacy. Yeah, Stage to Page is a program where we take play development methodology and apply it to spoken word to help spoken word poets get published. So it's a reverse engineering process, having cross-sector publishers, dramaturgs, directors, and poets. Sherry's been on the panel. So Sherry helped me, said, kick me in the butt saying, make this happen now, go online. And I did. And so within 3 days, I have this society, woo. All right. So thank you. I want to just acknowledge that I am currently on the unceded lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. And it is this work that I do, I'm really passionate about it because I think about how so many of us are from away and what it means for our stories to be here, and also what it means and what stories get erased when we are here. So how do we create stories together and make sure we are acknowledging each other, yeah? And so I have 3 poems for you today. I will be very much on time, I promise. And the first one is from my first journey to Vancouver. And yeah, this was I wrote this while I was sitting naked on Wreck Beach. It's quite, don't picture me naked, but whatever. Okay, here we go. I crawled up to your grousest peak, and yet I conquered nothing. I waded in the foamy tide, found no pearls, but saw the ocean. Shoreline to ceiling, I saw your proudest and felt my weakest while spending more than I can struggle looking for myself. I felt the kindness of nepotism and the rain of cold shoulders. I faced pages and pages of anonymous lovers, but no one said hello. I saw the mad, the homeless, and their children. Too honest to steal, too positive to work, too dirty to sell themselves on the street. Pride had nothing to do with it. But I fell in love on the train 3 times. 8 fresh fists the size of my fist, and sweat until my soft-sided belly was smaller than my security, and still it wasn't enough. I saw the most beautiful faces on the most beautiful bodies, felt apart, fell apart, and now see where only I can go. I leave in melancholy, wishing back the breath you took away. I leave unsexed, unromanced. I see how much I'd fit in here, but would have to fight for your citizenship. I've meditated and inverted, reversing the time so I could savor your cleanest cuisine. But I must return to the grass, over the Rockies, where the flat plains are dry and hot, until the cold front comes, bringing blankets of unescapable, oppressive white. I'll return someday, perhaps as someone else, waiting to fall in love again. I wouldn't change one drop of joy for the million that you've given me. Despite the stark sorry that surrounds my drive, there is still fuel to bring me home. Home in you one day I'll be. Home for me one day you'll be. Home where I can plant my roots, break stone through sand, and down into the ocean floor. Thank you. It was just a nice kind of love poem, a thirsty poem of wanting to get sexed. But it was a poem that kind of is about my journey because I'm originally from Ontario, but I spent many years in Saskatchewan on the prairies. And so the idea of this work, the amazing work that Charity's doing, bridging provinces in an active, artistic way. So that poem was for that. This next poem is, again, kind of a journey migration. Thank you, Christine, for looking at my work online. Maybe you've seen this one before. This one, my family is from Vietnam and China, and they came after the Vietnam War, like many people here have, my people here. And I learned so much when I moved to Regina, doing my MFA, where I learned the word pedagogy about the history of our people. I can't trace the exact lines of my ancestry, but based on dialect and region from where I know they're from, there is a high possibility that, you know, I have ancestors here. Anyway, this is, I call this wedding vows for whatever reason. You revel and worship in your high canopé cathedrals, living in closed, gated communities of sorted and sordid class, high on the hill of willful ignorance. Yours is a glass house of two-way mirrors installed the wrong way. You and your transparent denial, and yet I fall for you. I follow you. I come and go for you through the back door, through tunnels underneath the floors, unseen, unheard, but you know, and I know. All that matters is that you wake up serviced in the morning and in twilight. I was raised to love your skin, to believe you to be beautiful for your hair, your face, the length of your bones. I resist. I will not be defined by my proximity to you because you are not the status quo and I have always been an overachiever. You want to run, you want to hunt. You tell me you love me but need to see other people. I race along as your hound and howl as you find other conquests. You're on a horse and I'm on the ground sniffling out your next version of me. My passive aggression, feigning acceptance of your vagrant libido only proves to make me uglier to you. My resilient, resigned commitment to us melts into quiet, clinging desperation that only makes you run faster and tear harder from the only family I ever chose, because I'm not your best anything. Because I am your summer in the villa and you are my winter in the endless prairies. Because I have so much more to lose than you. I can't love you because there aren't other options. It doesn't matter that you cry to your mother when our home breaks a little more each day. It doesn't even matter that I am left cleaning the debris because the mother I don't call lives a lifetime away in some foreign Chinese closet waiting for citizenship. I love you regardless of your shade. I will always be grateful that you taught me to read in this backward tongue, left to right, up and down, lapping up the rim of anything and everything you're willing to expel. Isn't that right? I do a good job for you. I lay this track weaving my story into your map, playing along for far too long within the edges of your design, waiting to discover your flag planted on the frontier of me. I do good job for you. I bow down, I kowtow to you, appropriating this land for you, taking the blame and wearing the internment since I am an alien anyway. I do good job for you. I brave this cold so you can deepen your reach, seeking earthy bones as gold as my skin, dividing earthy blood, black as my hair, crude as my frostbitten limbs. I do good job for you. In all your queer, queenly monarchy, I am but one grain of rice. One lady boy in waiting to do good job for you. I do good job for you. I'll die because of you. I do for you. I die for mine. I do. Thank you. One more piece for you. This is a hair longer, but hopefully within time. Let me know if that's okay. Thank you, Larissa. Thank you. I'm so honored that thank you. Wow. Okay, this is a bit lighter, and again, bringing it back to the land, bringing it back to where I'm living right now, and it speaks to generations.哎呀，佢哋種嗰啲菜都冇窿，連蟲都唔食嘅，食死你呀！哎呀， those greens will kill you. They don't even have any holes. Not even the worms will eat them. She is more articulate about the dangers of GMOs and Monsanto than my vegan, rice queen, activist, ex-boyfriend will ever be. She preaches from her seat. She speaks in Cantonese. She sits in a food court in Crystal Mall, reaching out to a compatriot while waiting for her grandson, who is at Kumon. They chatter a bellow of wet wind, feng sup, and arthritis. Their friends bring them milk tea and dumplings. They pause to listen. They ask of spouses. They speak of poverty in Canada. The struggle is real, she says. Her name is Jenny. She has layers of cardigans and down-filled coat in 8 degrees of wet Vancouver winter. She's inside. She is inside the only space outside her home where she isn't reminded of English, please. She is immigrant narrative. She is grandmother's secret recipe. She thinks I don't know what she is saying. She whispers to her grandson, Weyman, pay attention. I sit in Crystal Mall, feeling more orphan than patron, watching this grandchild play with Pokemon, thinking, one day you'll miss this, like I miss this. I sit in Crystal Mall. I sit in Burnaby, British Columbia. I sit 5 provinces and 3 territories away from the daughter of my dead grandmother, missing the sound of Cantonese. I soak in every lilt, every word. These elders who will soon be lost like this language off my tongue. I stand at the steam table, remembering every day after school, remember my mother at Manchu Walk paying for piano lessons. I forget how to say auntie. I'm too old to say auntie. I say sister, 3 items, a dad, Samuel. I don't know how to make small talk. All I can remember are my mother's favorite dishes, the ones we've always ordered, off menu, on menu. I don't remember the characters on the rainbow printed papers to ask for anything other than ngao nam, beef stew, gu lo yok, sweet and sour pork, tao fan, fried rice, tao mein, fried noodles, gai lan. Luckily, these are my favorite dishes too. And though I don't remember, I'm positive that none of these signs say cat or dog, maybe snake or eel. I don't sound Cantonese. I can't pass for Hong Kongese. There's a white tongue in this yellow throat. Did I mention I'm half Vietnamese? I smile. I tip. She's not used to this. I am so used to this. They say that languages are best preserved among the mass of people who move away. These people retain the authentic accents, the proper phrase, never lose their place. They never mention colonizer. They couldn't translate whitewash, gentrification, or genocide. I'm stuck in a fusion food court in a white city on indigenous soil. I'm stuck at an all-way intersection surrounded by stop signs and street signs in languages I do not comprehend, and I don't know which way to go. I could live in any place and never fit in. I could die in any place and never be welcome. Cantonese say I'm too Vietnamese. Vietnamese say I'm too Cantonese. Elders say I'm too white, and whites say I'll never be white enough. And my friends say I'm 2 inches too Asian. I'm crying at Crystal Mall, realizing that existing is not enough. Remembering every time my parents say, no English to survive, I remember the beating they gave me when I told some stranger they didn't speak English, though I knew it was a lie. I Google Translate the words I hear as people order off the rainbow printed paper. I struggle to unlearn my illiteracy because as much as the racism I feel is equated to rice, food is the only place my mother speaks without bitterness. In a language she whispered to me in utero since womb, I pick up the phone, dial the woman who has taught me all the best dishes you'll see on my Instagram, Johnny D Trinh. I ask her how to make beef vermicelli, bông bò Huế. Mẹ ơi, con đây. Dạ, con nấu bông bò Huế được không? I want to make it for the husband she'll never accept I have. I wonder if this is wrong. I hold my breath and wait for a lecture. I open my screen, waiting to type. And she responds, look on YouTube, I'm too tired. Go to sleep. In English. I'm laughing in Crystal Mall, swallowing every sound and smell, listening to grandmothers and aunties and little brothers speaking the first language I'd ever heard. It feels like a room in a house I've outgrown with relatives I do not recognize. At that family gathering where the uncles are uncomfortably touchy and the cousins speak English, play Pokemon, and everyone has mastered their respective eye rolls. But everyone stops to listen to grandmother as she preaches from her seat, saying, never forget and always remember, you will never be white like them. You will never be accepted by them. So take care of each other, take care of ourselves, and eat organic. That pesticide shit will kill you. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much, Johnny D Trinh.
Thanks, Andrew, for hosting us and holding them down. Thank you, audience. Thank you, everyone. It's been such an honor. Thank you.
And welcome also to Mohammed is here in the room. I believe he's zooming in from Syria. So welcome to you, Mohammed. And here we go. Oh, I get to introduce myself well. If you want to find out more about me, just go to sherrydwilson.com. And I also invite you to subscribe to poetry on my YouTube channel. I've been putting some crazy little videos up there, and you may enjoy some of those. There will also be some other things going up in the next 6 months or so. And I had planned to do one thing, and now I am inspired to do another. As it is when poets get together, you often feel inspired to go one way and then the other. And so thank you, poets. I'm going to read a bit from Emily C., a letter to Emily C. I think I'll read from the ending of this play. This play was done in Calgary in 2019. And yes, I won't read my COVID poems. Instead, I'll read this. And I'm just going to try to put down my little puppy. She was crying before, and maybe she'll calm down there. So this is the end of the play. And it's...
They can't see you.
You can't see me? Andrew? Can everyone see me? No, they can't see me. Maybe the phone has powered out of energy. Maybe it's out of power. Maybe it's unpowered. Maybe it doesn't have any power. Maybe it needs to be repowered, or what do you call it, recharged. Apparently the audio and the visual are in two different cubicles, squares.
Right.
Shall we move on to another reader and then come back to me? I'll give you 30 more seconds. Can Andrew do it? Can Andrew do it? The electronic madness of zoom, 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 zoom into poetry. Don't know if Andrew can do it. He's got his mask on, but he's coming over. He's coming over and he's punching things, touching things. He's.
You can see yourself.
I can see myself.
I can see you in gallery view. I can see you in gallery view, Sherry D, but it goes to originality of orality if you put it into speaker view.
So it's only my speaker view that is, because the speaker from this phone, this phone needs to be charged up is the problem. So shall I charge it? Why don't you plug it into, Andrew?
It's charging.
Why don't you plug it into one of the other plugins and give it some charge?
Yep, it is charging. It's working.
It's not working.
Well.
Share screen.
Oh, is it because? Hold on.
Okay, I'm moving on.
Try. Oh, no.
Sherry D, it's below here. If people pin you, then if they want to see you, they can do that. If there are a bunch of folks who've given the options in the chat room.
Oh, okay.
So there's lots of workarounds.
How do you pin me?
Someone else explain that. I'm just watching gallery views.
You just put your cursor onto your screen and then you get an ellipsis and you click on the ellipsis and there's a pin option. It's pretty ironic that I'm explaining this. I am not
Hey,
a
everyone.
techie.
Hey everybody, it's Johnny here. So Andrew, I'm not sure what you're working on over there, but just a note for you, Sherry D. If everyone does the pinning or the spotlighting on ours, unfortunately I'm on a mobile, so I don't have that function, but if you do, that won't change your recording feed, which means that if you want to be the spotlight video, Sherry D, which I think you should be, to do your reading portion, we should figure it out though. So that as long as so you're the primary screen, otherwise you might be like,
yeah, I think
reviewed and
we
logged in.
we should move on for now until Andrew can figure it out, or just replug this in because it's this phone that's the problem, Andrew. So you can come over here and make this phone work.
Well,
it's this phone.
It's the phone's charging. Yeah. No. Because you're talking into here, it's switching over.
All right.
Okay,
so we'll move on, and we'll move on. Okay, everyone, let's move on, and then we will try to get this worked out, and if we don't, then I might have to change positions and I can go sit at the other desk, if worse comes to worse. Okay, sorry, this was not planned. Okay. Next up, we have Weyman Chan, and Weyman, is just a remarkable person, a remarkable poet, a very good friend. He has many friends in this room right now, and he is also the finalist for the 2008 Governor General's Award for his second book of poetry. And where would that be? It is this one, Noise. Oh, of course, you can't see it because I don't have a screen.
we can see it.
Noise from the Laundry. And Weyman divides his time between writing, family, electron, micrographs, and non sequitur fluxes of space-time, brought to you by Insomnia Skittles. Poetry editor of Calgary's experimental literary magazine Filling Station, he's convinced that kindness, not ego, will save the world. Toronto visited him once, and I know that he's traveled all sorts of places beyond that. And Weyman's fifth book of poetry, Human Tissue, a primer not knowing, examines rage and the quest for origin. And, you know, I have all of his books because I'm a reader type person. And, you know, I suggest that you all go to your independent bookstores and get some books that you can enjoy. It's really important to have a lot of books on your shelves that you read and that you can share with your friends and your family. And so now, without further ado, Weyman Chan.
Oh, thank you so much, Sherry D. You mean so much to so many of us, Sherry D, for just building the writing community and always reaching out, and now across provinces. Oh, you've been international before with the Spoken Word Festival that you curated for a decade at least. And so all the best to you, love you, and thank you so much for inviting me to this inaugural reading, which I'm so thrilled to be a part of. So I'm just gonna jump in, and I am reading from Calgary, which is Mohkinstsis, Treaty 7 land of the Blackfoot, which includes Siksika, Kainai, and Tsuut'ina, as well as the Stony Nakota, Tsuut'ina, and the Region 3 Métis. And I'm just going to start. This poem is called Late Great Unchained Being. And everybody can hear me? Okay. Late Great Unchained Being. The first star pushed cloud cover through my winter retina. We followed a late trail, the Chinook's underbelly, faintly pink. Heaven waiting by the closed fingertips of who we are, in my sister's lungs, in your husband's liver. The negative spaces between are gaunt, low on blood sugar. Maybe there's nothing left in the tank for tomorrow to run on, meaning we don't win from loss nor complaint. So let's digress. After half a century, the late great planet Earth is still in print, meaning that one day Armageddon on horseback will turn the seas red, its author having predicted the end of petroleum. Many in his day waved that conflagration over our heads, but I don't think the world ends that way. The diaspora is beautiful and love keeps blossoming. Ages ago, I fled the misinformation of youth, but now another night's radio silence winks from each bright sinkhole, pouring light into such shapes we're given in place of dying. This next poem is called The Invention of Now. No wagon to burn on cleansed land. The luck of the world was my birth lottery, so I grabbed a full Western beer gut. I didn't want my enemy's mother, so I shed earths like moths, overwriting the industrial scene. Towards light, I fell into stream beds with no astral backbone, but animal orphans chewing through their own sinews. Should I foreground the Calgary Tower with my swearing finger on account of corporate venting, or did my luck run out in China? Am I moist and breezy or intact, and extinct? Do visible ends of stars hide their true age? Do your legs climb, or are they a supply chain bludgeoned by the lanthanide series, whose core sample built us only wealth from more holes? Okay, the next one is called The Origin of Chinese Characters. Perhaps written for the eye to act out, it seemed that radicals sprouting off one side of the logograph were pinwheels that placed understanding at the margins. I'd hear the monosyllable uttered with grave care and no laughter. What an effort to ram a breast against the child glyph, which read together means aperture or surname. Or that the ceremonial knife symbol drawn over the word for woman combines to mean concubine, although a wine jar still looks like a wine jar, as it's meant to convey satiety. Trust me when I say my last name looks like a tree with an I in it, while the second syllable of my given name looks like a courtyard, signifying family, but with one door off its hinge. As far as I can tell, the first symbol of my given name dates back to oracle bones, made up of the sacred number 5 on top of the word for prison. Yet this combo at any moment can also morph into the ornate glyph for broom, or even more bizarre, the word for change, itself drawn from the glyph depicting an animal carcass laid open for divination. That's the informally amazing thing about not understanding the system. You see what you want. You make it glorious, arcane, or silly. You can be whoever you want to be, though conversely, you can't unsee what language through the ages carried in its shape, where all clarity or concision echoes the backwater form you cannot escape. Okay. Oh, just throat is dry. I'm not freezing, am I, Charity?
No, you're good.
Okay. This next poem is called Big Box Cutter. At the end of the pandemic, all the ribbony gift wrap fell at once from a small yellow box. An absurd object, really. Did it belong to him? Sitting alone at the end of a bad year, jiggling his food coma when days were just starting to get longer, while his meals became more refrigerated, which in turn jiggled the pig to market early. Now, the end of the pandemic wasn't all about him. It was really an above the brain event, seeding that spring vulnerability. And this small yellow box, tattooed with Wemyss and shipping labels, carbon chains pretending to love and support birds in spite of product placement, hinting that the cosmos was set to be somewhere else in a hurry. He wanted evil banished by next year. He wanted aspirational targets placed on mean income householders. He wanted no factory meddling here and no griping as to whose gift it was after the ribbons fell off. Big box cutters can ruin giving. Besides, he knew that this small yellow box would supersede the origin story of himself. He could be that small footprint guy, talking himself back off the ledge of what's non-recyclable. But now, after traveling so far, the small yellow box was here, and with some mildness that accompanies the diffusing of a bomb, he opened the small yellow box and tipped out a non-infinite clock piece, flashingly brilliant, its dark spots not as illustrated, batteries not included. Okay. And this one is another pandemic poem. It's called New Year's Day, 2021. So in essence, what I did on New Year's Day. My cat drew an Arctic circle under the long haul trawler's ping. It ended with paws and mittens, but started when she first toppled lighthouses into her milk. She always liked bling, iceberg beacons sloped Whoville-like and cracking down a seaway framed in a settler photograph. My cat was sea captain to fish pirates. She set Polaris on her tongue with Whitman's adverbs that calved and calved incursions off the subcontinent next to my bed. So I let her be the brat. I stayed hospitable when she returned with place names for people who might be lizards, when she offloaded kimchi or Gruyere or German prickliness styled from a choir, her paw raised as if to stick it to my modernity. All stripes and spine water, my cat's voyages chased the 7 seas after her own tail, faster and faster until the axle broke. Finally, a bounty was placed on me to be captured and returned to my slaver, though she claimed it was always just about the fish. Okay, I have 2 more poems. And this poem is called The Star Is Candied. The star is candied. It all makes sense. The reprehensible goon now out of office, if I eat a cookie in his shape, will the divisions he led thread my eye through the long, cold dust? The star is candied. It all makes sense, how second chances are just pinpoints that don't bother separating the cream from the Big Bang as time adjusts my eyes to black. My mother's up there somewhere too, tweaking her dark matter oven to get the batch just right. Though at times I also feel her hand rebuffing me as my face still tries to hide behind her apron. Enemies of life are few. Straw men and snowmen are given raisins for smiles, gumdrops for eyes. Cookies cool down and lawn chemicals stay. The air relaxes, bouncing off the roof curls of cafe. When the words of the living have stopped eating me, cookies need not be offered. Star shapes will relax into themselves before our portion decides what's left to eat while this party crumbles. Am I good on time? Am I good on time?
I lost track of time.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is the last one. And it's called My Gaps in Learning. It was inspired by my gap in learning about what John A. Macdonald said. And this is what he said in 1883. Although he may learn to read and write, his habits and training and mode of thought are Indian. He is simply a savage that can read and write. Okay, my gaps in learning. Another bleak transmission of lost steel manufacturing jobs. 2 million equals 11% over 20 years. In my citizen odor eaters, I fly to Texas. My urethral collapse apes the whooping crane's majesty over tailings ponds, while Alberta's UCP curriculum rewrites history books to nix any mention of residential schools. On this, my friend has no firm opinion. He'd rather live sadness and guilt-free of the charge and embargo of treaty, executing the barest apology where air fails to retain ink, lest my travel hub's surgical grid survive calamity of 1 quadrillion ants on a monk. Any savage tires of civic grace. Just the word indigenous sounds like a trophy exercise. Terra Nullius married the cowboy but threw out the bathwater. Blood quantum made hand puppets out of spirit animals, while my epiphytes struck honey, mock suckle, flailing at interspecies radio. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Weyman. I'm going to, hi everyone again. I've changed locations. Thank you so much, Weyman. I'm sorry I missed the first poem, but I'll hear it again. The rest of the reading was remarkable, and welcome to some people that I didn't know were here. Now that I'm at the main terminal, I can see Lindsay and some other people that I haven't seen for a while, like Linda, hello, and William, and Sarah, and Ursula. Well, it's just wonderful to see you all. And so this is a better view for me. Can you all hear me? And can you see me? All right. Well, now I've gone back to my original plan, and I'll read a couple of COVID poems, and I'll read the Emily Carr another time. This is called Intoxicated Children. From deep within the confines of quarantine, I hear screams, cries coming from outside. I bolt upstairs, frantic, fear guiding my eyes. What's happened? What's happened? What's happened? 2 stairs at a time. The screams reminiscent of blue murder remind me of the shrieks I wailed when I got a lawn dart javelin impaled on my leg. Wrong bullseye. I remember looking down through panicked screams, a dart sticking out of my leg, perpendicular to trauma. Mental note, wow, that arrow looks super cool, before I passed out. But what's happened outside? What's happened outside? I hit the top of the stairs, terrified. Screams amplify. Tear through the kitchen, they intensify. What's happened outside? Run to the window. What's happened? What's happened? I can't believe my eyes. The neighbor's entire front lawn is covered with little children far gone, strung out on speed. Guess they busted apart at the seams, free-based chocolate-covered espresso beans. And now they're spilling into my yard, running and screaming like wind-up machines, unrestrained, straight off the pages of Dr. Zeus. Thing 1 and Thing 2 got them ripped on stir crazy juice. Loop de loop de loop. They're racing, harem, scarum, raising hell in nonsensical patterns all over my front yard pell-mell. It's a COVID kindergarten Mardi Gras as they breach bylaw after bylaw. How did these crafty kids escape from their homes? How did they break out of breakout lockdown? How did they make this bananarchistic release? And what do I look like? The pandemic police? I watch as their little mouths gape open, spitting and drooling, slobbering and gobbing. As they run feral, I think of saliva, swabbing. And horror fills the air along with unprotectable, deep-rooted despair. There are children swinging off the branches of trees, could be carriers of the deadly disease. They look like surreal space monkeys. I think maybe this is a hallucination from being in isolation too long. Now the lawn is spewing plastic toys, child-sized tractors with monster truck noise, cars and planes, bikes and training wheels, soap bubbles pop in consecutive cartwheels. Grand finale, fireworks sounds, playthings eject from out of the ground like bones from a shallow grave. I contemplate the pandemic tide, wave after wave after wave. One gremlin chases another with a super soaker water Uzi. Kids stagger drunk and woozy from one too many exploding water balloons. They're soaking wet as a COVIDiotic food fight with a defenestrated alphabet breaks out on the lawn. It's an Animal House soup out there. I feel sad for the children, and yet I wonder where their parents are. Masks, gloves, goggles, hazmat bizarre, their dilated pupils spin psychedelic scruples as they pant out of breath. It's a big, bloody mess. I phone a friend for some advice regarding this blotto daycare, this besotted malware, and my friend says, just go out there and check their toes. What? Check their toes. Instead, I go out and tell the whacked out pack to put down the hose and play their part in playing a part. I tell them, I want to scream too. Can't you see? I've got a dart in my heart. They stop in their tracks. Eyes glaze over like little donuts. I say, this will all be over soon, and the world will open again, differently. And maybe then you will be free. And they just stand there and they look at me, heads cocked like a litter of sweet little puppies, and they say, you're crazy, lady. Stop making so much noise. And COVID poem 2. Love in the time of Corona. And I wrote this in March of last year. Our faces have changed, and we don't know yet what we will look like. As a search, we search to live in love. We oscillate between paralysis, monotony, and flow. Wonder if we will ever wake from this COVID coma, if we will ever know anything again. Wonder if we will only be able to dream of trips to far off places, sitting in stands cheering, standing O's for virtuosos, or dancing wild to Motown Live on a Sunday afternoon. Time changed places with space and dissolved, along with the high-paced rat race of our lives. Postponed, indefinitely, canceled, later is the new now. Resume, push the reset button every time we make an expedition into the outside world. Zone out, real, try to keep it real, real to feel, to real, to unreal, real, real, real. To tell the truth, it took a pandemic for me to learn to bake a loaf of banana bread. Yes, I found Grandma Nine's recipe, fashioned a facsimile of a loaf pan, the wrong shape. It turned out to be the right taste. Each bite of banana bread reminded me of her. Each bite brought me closer to her in the memory of sweeter occasions. A beautiful boon at a time when the only way to touch someone is in their heart. To be touched by tenderness, heart by heart. There will always be another ski pass, another hill, another slope, breath of fresh air. After the age of asphyxiation and despair is behind us, I wonder, what will become of the past? Maybe we'll become more human as Earth takes a moment to breathe. As Earth takes a moment to breathe. We wash our hands raw, wear homemade masks, try to learn the perfect distances to save our own breath. And one day, we might fill that empty space with the beauty of a sunset instead of a pending death, 6 feet above to avoid 6 feet below. One thing's for certain, I had no idea I touched myself so much.
hand to hair, sweeping it back, fingers to face, nose, eyes, lips, adjusting glasses in the arid eclipse to remove sleep from my eyes. Some days I just break down and cry, grieving the life I once had, now gone, along with hugs and kisses, shaking hands, freedoms, and long goodbyes. Or those nights when I wake with a little cough and a slight headache, and I think somehow I caught it in isolation and it's the end, and I spend the rest of the night in a cold sweat and a deep tete-a-tete with death. That's when my heart goes out to the people on the front lines, the ones really taking care. On those days and after those nights, the only thing that comforts me is a potato. I know it sounds trite, but sometimes the only thing that will lift my spirits is a scalloped potato, spuds. I think of my other grandma, the poet who arrived from Ireland with 5 cents and a dream of love in her pocket. When she went to spirit, all her writing was lost, scattered to the earth. And all that was left was a locket and a small strand of her hair. Today, I follow her dream and I turn to the face of love. Today, as I perform a wedding in this time of social distance, my voice breaks on the front lawn, under the weeping willow about to bloom in yellow catkins. My voice breaks with the blight of beauty at the love I see standing before me, beneath long feathery branches over moonstone roots. A young couple ties the knot, handfasting at a distance. They bind their own hands in the ancestral light of fertility sighs. In this time of pandemic, they speak the vows of their souls in a creation divination that humbles, extols. My body holds back tears as I wed them from afar. I am struck by the closeness of their hearts. And for the first time, it is spring. They are beaming global ghosts into dancing light. It swirls around them, and the word corona returns to its original meaning. Aurora borealis, solar soma overhead. Their light is likened to a crown. And I say to them, you may kiss with joy. Thank you very much. And now I go back to my other duty of being the MC. Oh yes, and now I have lost the papers. Perhaps they're in the other location. Or maybe they're here. Yep, oh, okay, here we are. All right. Oh, I'm breaking out in a cold sweat. It's all so overwhelming. Okay. Next we have Christine Lowther. I have her books as well. And in particular, I love this book, love this book. And I highly recommend it. It's her memoir. And she's had a very interesting life. And she continues to live an extremely interesting life. And she's just a great spirit. And she's the poet laureate of Tofino right now. And she perhaps will tell you some great tales about where she lives and the people who are her friends in that elegant and graceful place up there. One of my favorite places on earth, Tofino. Without further ado, we have Christine Lowther.
Thanks. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, nice. Oh, thank you all. I'm just, whoa, these are all really hard acts to follow. I came to Sherry and I said, we should do a reading. I need to do a reading, but I'm a terrible organizer. And she just went with it and ran with it, and I didn't do anything. So this is, wow, spoiled rotten. There might be a bit of a theme going here. I'm a bit obsessed these days in my activism, so I'm just going to dive right into it. If hoping people know who and what the Green Man is. He is an archetype from pre-Christian times. If you ever see a carving and there's a face, but there's a lot of foliage, sometimes even coming out of the nostrils and mouth and eyes. And he's about, I don't know, he's about fertility, season, youth, death. He's just everything. And I had a bit of a collection of green men around my float house. So this poem is called Green Man. In the church of all places, a carved face dares. We know him even in this faded, soft state, irrepressible, wood shined by age, nose chipped almost off. There is sap yet rising. Bend closer, he is no longer wood, but alive, laughing, a deep voice, rich as rainforest. We tremble in response, a stirring of branches, ripples on water, a frisson of deja vu. So familiar, those saneless eyes urging through oak leaves, flaming green derangement, comic and tragic, eternal paradox of decline and arousal, the ardent gurn eternally returning. As our vigorous own, we know him and are his, declared down through generations, a tumble of kisses and leaves, swirling lifetimes of matings and deaths. We proclaim this knowing now. So the next poem makes me laugh. Thanks. Next poem, I'm not even going to say the title until the end and see if you can figure out what I'm talking about. It's short. More controversial than pipelines, value adding or blocking the view, tolerated or bulldozed, admired or severed at your base, fought for or discarded, protected or dismembered, grieved or forgotten, supported with brace, buttress, and guy wire, or assessed, deemed hazardous and doomed, gated and guarded, or mass murdered and profited from. Lung filler, life giver, defend yourself. Nest host, network, sculpture, poem. Fling your killer's chainsaws from their unworthy graspers. Suck the air from their chests. Desiccate their skin. Shade them no more, and they will burn as you adapt in a rainless world. So I think I was a bit angry at the time that I wrote that. And the title is To the Trees, but it's not like To the Trees. It's like, did anyone see that Robin Hood movie from the 90s starring Kevin Costner? And all the Sheriff of Nottingham's men all show up to their camp in the woods and they're going to attack. And one of the merry men turns around and his whole face is trembling and he goes, "To the trees!" And I think there's spittle flying. Anyway, okay, and so this one's a work in progress, which I've been enjoying doing different recordings of, and there's no title. The mayor called you scrubby, or was it scruffy? Forest that will change with the climate, shortening your name, losing the rain. She called you scrubby with your cedar crowns, tall hemlocks. To come down for cubicles and cars, this pocket of you, colonized like the rest. Photosynthesis and oxygen, she had the nerve to call you. Scrub Scruff District Lot number 114. Generous life sustainer, our breath provided by you. Pulse of great Tlaoquit Hahuthi. You sweep up and down mountainsides. She would not see your already shelter, your nests, dens, perches, food sources, hiding places, sphagnum moss and sundew, sleeping amphibians and bats, Cluth api, carbon curer, migratory navigator, biodiversity's throne, planet's heartbeat, habitat, home, reaching forest, crowding the islets, bending over the surging inlets, sending your fallen splashing across clear salmon streams, bridging to us. So the language that I've been slipping in here and there is the Nuu-chah-nulth tongue, and I live in the Tlaoquit Hahuthi, which is known as Clayoquot Sound, but I think the word Clayoquot is just an English bastardization of Tlaoquit. So I want to honor the Tlaoquit way of saying, which brings me to another poem with a bit of Nuu-chah-nulth in it. And it's called Wanajas in two parts. One, this is the mountain. I see it on the inside of each eyelid, slanting light through shaggy shawls of cypress, bonsai pillowy pine. Avoid the greened over clear cut. I say I'm picking salmon berries. I say I'm measuring the disintegration of a bear scat halfway up the trail. In truth, I come because I can, and it feeds us, the mud-wallowing dog and me. We are privileged to bypass forgotten mining claims, names and dates in metal stapled to gray cedars, their cake fork crowns a mark of decadence, made of more than decades, generations unabatedly unkempt, saved by the people in 1988. 2. Settlers called it lone cone, a misnomer. Undulations of dark forested land rolling southeastward on clay and nurse log loam. Lone cone for the lonely. Lone cone for the solitary youth whose cry for help carried over water, brown shins scratched and bleeding from the bushwhacking down wolf trails on his way south to the dock. Instead, he came north to the bay. It was my honor to put him in my boat and drive him to Kakawis. On the way, he taught me Wanajas, the name of the mountain. I forgot to do a time set. I was all ready to set my alarm. How much time do I have left? Everybody's muted.
One more poem.
Okay, but which poem?
A medium short one.
Medium short one. Okay. Does everybody know what a grebe is? It's a waterfowl. It's a seabird. And I live in a float house, so I have a lot of sea around me. It's called pop-up grebe. Closer and closer you appear, waif grebe, popping up between waves. Float there while hummingbirds crisscross above your head, unnoticed. They are more substantial. Oh, scrawny grebe, the loon is thrice your size. Tiny molting grebe, did someone take you, splotch ink marks over your neck, then wipe their hands on your juvenile wings? Oh, gray mess, titchy grebe, are you just young or still in winter plumage? Horned grebe or eared, you don't match the guidebook. Smidgen specimen, sooty. You caught and ate a minnow smaller than my pinky. But what vast absence blinking out behind a wave. Has the water claimed you? Did you turn and disappear? Deprivation. The end.
Thank you. Beautiful. Love the green man. Beautiful.
Thanks.
And I'm glad that we talked about doing this reading, and I'm glad that we're going to continue doing it. And we'll have to have more people from Tofino reading. We'll talk about that later. And I wanted to tell everyone, if you want to join the mailing list, go onto my website, Sherry D. Wilson, and sign up there, and then it will go into the other world, and it will send you things, notices of otherworldly and supernatural readings that will happen the last Sunday of every month. And now I would like to invite the great Belay Nickerson. He didn't put on his bio that he is my husband, my gay husband, and
And he truly is my gay husband. I was thinking lately, you know, we have talked every day during the pandemic, every day. I think we missed one day. And maybe he's my guru and my counselor. I'm not sure if that's what a husband does, but in your case, that's what you do. And you make me feel happy every time that I phone you, because you're so positive and you bring this thing in the COVID of finding the joy. And you've helped me to find the joy during this time and find the creative path into that. Thanks, Billet. And here's your books. You know, you didn't put these on the bio either, so I thought I would show everybody these books that you have, The Impact and The Artificial Cherry, one of my favorites. Oh yeah, oh no, wait, I love McPoems. And McPoems is a great title, but it's a really funny book. And oh, your first book, Asthmatic Glassblower, beautiful, beautiful. Oh wait, no, this, Help Me Kiss It Better, Let Me Kiss It Better, was that your first one? No, this was your first one, then this was your second one, yes. And you're Vancouver-based. Billet is Vancouver-based. He has his sixth book coming out, Duct Tape Roses, by Book Hug in the spring 2021. And he's the co-chair of the creative writing department of Kwantlen Polytechnic University in Surrey. And he is this amazing guy who is able to like find things, like rare things in every secondhand place that you go to. And I shop with him whenever I can, and that's how I get most of my clothes. And why? Because he's my husband. And so here we have it. Billet Nickerson.
Hey folks. Okay, can you hear me all right? Okay, so a couple things. Cats are sleeping right now. That's a good thing. That may stop though. Also, it rained here and it's a lot louder than I thought. So you might hear some buses and stuff. So my apologies if you get a lot of that. What a lovely, it's so lovely to do this event and see so many familiar faces and new faces. And even though I haven't been hearing that poetry ooh, I've been seeing it in your faces. So that's exciting. I wanted to start off just by acknowledging that I am currently on the unceded ancestral lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and that I'm a settler here. In this area that some refer to as East Vancouver. Thank you to Sherry D, who is my diva. And I always say that her drag name is Sherry D Fenestrated, so that was great. Thank you to Andrew as well, and to my fellow readers and just all the fun folks out there. Okay, so I also moved to here because I don't know if you can tell, but I'm sitting in my airplane seats. So I have 2 rows of airplane seats. Here's like the little thing with the ashtray, but I don't smoke in my own apartment, so that's good. But I realized that basically I've been sitting here the amount of time that it would have taken me to fly to Calgary. So I feel like I'm totally in this space for you. So I'm also right now, I was supposed to be in New Zealand, but that's not going to happen. So I thought I would read this poem entitled Kissing in New Zealand. Kissing in New Zealand is the same as kissing anywhere else. Your tongue doesn't circle in the opposite direction, and you still oscillate between not knowing whether to open or close your eyes. But I needed to experience this myself, not just read it in some traveler's guide. So when my traveling companion went on a Lord of the Rings tour, I slipped into a sex club instead. Who wants to fly for 14 hours into another hemisphere without kissing someone there? I guess I'm old-fashioned that way, though I should be more specific in my desires. As the first guy I kissed hailed from Saskatchewan, which is akin to traveling halfway around the world only to find yourself eating at McDonald's. Like good Canadians, we apologized, then moved on to find Kiwis.
Wow.
Okay. Yes. So I got McDonald's in there. You got to get a McDonald's reference in every time. So this next poem. So some of you don't know me, so you don't know this, but some may be surprised to know that I was a competitive junior curler, and I spent many of my teenage years and much of my life actually in curling clubs. And this is kind of it's strange writing in the time of the pandemic because it feels like everything that you write is sort of like historical document because we're documenting the before. So this is called the Chiam Curling Club circa 1988. It's named after the Chiam Nation, although we anglicized and called it Chiam. So I'm keeping it that way just for the title. Only things you need to know about Chiam Nation, and I mentioned a bonspiel. For those of you who are not curling savvy, a bonspiel is a curling tournament. Chiam Curling Club, circa 1988. In retrospect, the curling club seemed much farther away than the 45-minute drive from my home to the army base, named for the Chiam Nation. Though no one mentioned this, nor the unceded lands, just the curling, and how nice it was for service members to have something to occupy their time when not busy defending our country. As our bonspiel took place on government property, our welcome bags included not only the usual maps and 2-for-1 restaurant coupons, but personalized envelopes with solitary condoms that drew screams of laughter from the older curlers and silence from me as I'd heard about condoms, stumbled upon them in the playgrounds of my youth, but I hadn't touched one or owned one so publicly. At some point, a drunken curler threatened to roll his condom down the end of his curling broom, which made me think of my friend whose mom had her roll a condom onto a hot dog that for some reason I imagined as boiled, but it must have been fresh from the fridge, still slippery in her young, mortified fingers. I recall little else from that bonspiel other than it took place in grade 8. I'm not sure if we won or if we lost. Okay. Thanks for the movement. It's very straight. It's like I just see a little, hey everyone, it's great. It's terrible. Someone could be having a seizure and we would think they were clapping, but that's another story. Okay, I've got two, I'm so inappropriate. 2 more poems and then we will call it a day. So this is a bit of a sadder poem. It's about the death of my best friend, unexpected passing away. And that's, I think, one of those things that when that happens to you, I don't know if you ever, it's not a question of getting over something, but I don't know if you ever fully reconcile that, but it becomes part of you. Yes, so this poem's called 6 Years On. At my neighborhood coffee shop, wedged between exchange students and scenesters with strollers, I realized if I'd conceived a child with my best friend on the day he died, she'd start kindergarten this September. We used to joke we'd adopt or ask one of the Jennies to surrogate. Jen with 1 N or Jen with 2 or Jenny. So many Jennifers, I've contemplated collective nouns. A picnic basket of Jennies, a jackhammer of Jennies, an orchestra of Jennies. To talk to our daughter about menstruation, training bras, her changing body. I've often discussed the loss of mentor figures for gay men, how those who would have naturally taught us what it meant to be a 40-something never made it that far, but have rarely spoken about the void felt by a middle-aged man who loses his gay best friend in an accident in a bathtub. The day we cleaned out his apartment, I looked for additional rooms, secret passageways filled with his stuff. The women held up his shirts and inhaled him, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't resurrect his scent. Friends ask if I expect to find him hidden somewhere, but it's more about the shock he's been reduced to things that aren't enough to capture all he means. In this photograph, he's mysterious, lanky, and shirtless as he plays vinyl of Liz Phair's Fuck and Run. In this photograph, he takes off his shoes to make sock puppets for a karaoke version of The Muppet Show. In this photograph, he holds up the chinchilla he named Hat. In this photograph, my hands rest on his hips, my thumbs along his pelvis. In this photograph, I ask him what the tooth fairy paid after his childhood dentist extracted a row of extra teeth. In this photograph, he spells out a long word on our whiskey-stained Scrabble board. In this photograph, we're in the emergency room, and he's about to tell a woman whose breast plant ruptured he cut himself, slicing a bagel. In this photograph, we've convinced tourists from Seattle that Canadians celebrate pride by pulling out their cocks to make penis flowers on tabletops. In this photograph, I tried to recreate his recipe for shepherd's pie. In this photograph, it's the first day of school. I can't find our daughter, and I can't find him. Okay, last poem. Oh, it's always a hard one to read. I forget that. Okay, thank you again to everybody. Thank you to Sherry D for being so spectacular and for making COVID our time something remarkable and special, and also with much grace. Okay, so on that theme of like writing about things that you feel like you're documenting and we can't really do anymore. So this poem is called Leather Bar, and it's about being in a leather bar doing a fundraiser. So we'll end on, that seems like the right way to end the evening. So here we go. Leather Bar. There's a giant wicker basket filled with sex toys and small bottles of wine that make me blush once I figure out they're big bottles of lube. On stage, a leather daddy announces ticket numbers he's commanded his submissive to retrieve from a plastic beer jug. But whether from apathy or the sad fact chaps lack pockets, no one claims the prize. 000674. Anyone? Anyone? Going once? Going twice? Last call for 000674. Between numbers, I asked Mr. Seattle Leather Daddy if he's envious his partner, Mr. Leather Washington State, is a whole state, while he's only a city, and he growls, no, because he's mine. 000587. Anyone? Anyone? Last call for 000587. After the 15th ticket, the leather daddy grows increasingly annoyed, and I worry for the safety of his submissive, even if he consents, as he'll surely be punished for picking such bad numbers. But then someone screams, maybe we should all just share the sex toys and lube amongst ourselves. That way everyone would win again and again and again. And apart from the two old guys who fight over the wicker basket, everyone agrees it's the best leather bar raffle ever. Thanks, guys.
Yay. Thank you, Belay.